In our first story, the Ghana Police Service is ramping up security in the country this Yuletide so people could go about their festivities with as little worry as possible. But quite apart from the regular policing to prevent crime, the police intends to also clamp down on motorbike riders, for example, who flagrantly disregard traffic regulations. Addressing a news conference at the Joint Police Operations Center at the police headquarters here in Accra, the Commissioner of Police in charge of operations, Dr. George Dampare, said the IGP is particularly concerned about errant motorbike riders. Latif Idris sat through the news conference for JoyNews.
The Yuletide usually records a lot of more road crashes, often because there is a lot more activity, which translates into a lot more commuting and therefore a lot more vehicular movement. But it is a period that also sees a lot more people driving under the influence of alcohol. Also mindful of the fact that criminal activity also increases during the period, the police says it is deploying 14,200 personnel across the country to undertake special operations ahead of the Yuletide.
We are deploying progressively. And as you could see on the field, the final debriefing and briefing for the personnel at the national operation level or department is being done. And from tomorrow, you see most of them out there, like we said, on the instructions of the IG, going to support the MTTDs and the traffic management and other strategies that we don't want to share. You will feel it. To the criminals, we want to sign that message to you. We are coming. We are coming bigger than you have ever known. We are coming for you at the 3 places we know we can find you. Your hideout, the place you operate, and where you dispose of your booties.
The indiscipline on the roads, according to Dr. George Dampare, is a matter of grave concern to the IGP. He admits the police has serious challenges with logistics, but will do their utmost best.
We have come to believe in that concept, that whatever we have, we can make the best of it. And we should not offer any excuses. But whilst we also pray that the full complement of resources will one day show up. But if they will not show up because we have limited resources, we will make sure that we will not be despair, but we'll do our best to make you happy.
Are we going to see motorbikes now respecting traffic regulations? Because as it stands now, they cross red lines and all of that.
That is very interesting and very important question. And there are so many dynamics we've looked at. And we keep seeing how best we can get the necessary logistics to deal with it once and for all. It is something that the IGP is deeply troubled about, because we can't see why we cannot respect just a simple regulation within a period of 1.5 minutes waiting.
He added the police will welcome support from both government and private individuals that will help them deliver world-class policing as part of the transformation agenda by the IGP and government.
The coordinator for the National Platform on Migration, Samuel Nidodu, says the lack of implementation of policies on the movement of people makes it difficult for human traffickers to be traced. At a media training and public sensitization in Kumasi on the ECOWAS free movement and migrant rights, he lamented migration as a major international concern which is wreaking havoc on Ghana. He believes the situation will change and the challenge be addressed ultimately when Ghana begins to operationalize the national migration policy formed in 2016. Love FM's Thomas Pamford has more in this report.
The media training and public sensitization workshop in Kumasi trained selected journalists on ECOWAS free movement and migrants' rights. Executive Director for Media Response, Samuel Nidodu, says lack of implementation of policies on the movement of people makes it difficult for human traffickers to be traced. He says stakeholders must be proactive to implement the relevant policies.
The operationalization of policies and frameworks and mechanisms that have been agreed upon at various levels, at the national level, at the sub-regional level, and even at the local level, has enable those who involved in these issues of extortion, trafficking, and illegal or irregular migration to have a field day, because they try to circumvent the existing protocols and then act in such a manner that the authorities who are supposed to put checks to these things are, in a way eluded, so that they are not able to even track what is happening on the ground. So people have a field day. It is not lost. We need every stakeholder to come on board to ensure that we revisit the various mechanisms and frameworks and policies that are already in place, and then for the government to ensure that all mandated institutions that are supposed to work in order to operationalize these frameworks and policies are up to the task.
Professor Delali Badasu is at the University of Ghana Center for Migration Studies. She believes government's Planting for Food and Jobs initiative must go with expanded rural electrification to give the youth a choice.
Lack of electricity and other amenities and infrastructure are responsible for some of these migrations. So we need to talk about how we can make life better in the rural area, so that some people can also stay there if that's their choice. So that migration is by choice. It's not that that's the only option left for you.
Assistant Superintendent at the Enforcement Unit of Ghana Immigration, David Asian, says ECOWAS member states respect the 90-day protocol on free movement of people.
The ECOWAS protocol on the right of establishment and residence has not been fully implemented, and as such, any member state that wants to stay more than the 90 days has to regularize his or her stay to obtain a residence, or if he wants to be employed by a company, then he should obtain a work permit.
Thomas Panford reporting.
The Member of Parliament for Asin South, the Reverend JoyNews Fodjo, is asking government and the Ministry of Education to offer teachers who go on retirement an affordable housing package or scheme to enable these teachers retire in dignity. According to the Member of Parliament, if government's free SHS policy is to receive the remarkable support and also achieve the needed quality Ghanaians were yearning for, teachers ought to be motivated to give of their best. He was speaking at the Maiden Teachers Award Scheme at Asinkran in the Asin South District of the Central Region, and that's where Richard Kwejonya filed his report.
Government-free SHS was rolled out in September this year, with many critics questioning the quality of the implementation of such a policy. Speaking at the Maiden Awards for Teachers in the Asin South District, MP for Asin South, Reverend JoyNews Fodjo, indicated teachers are indispensable in every policy implementation and should be adequately motivated to deliver such policies. Reverend Fodjo has thus tabled a proposal before government and the Ministry of Education in what he believes should be done for teachers, apart from ensuring that teachers get accommodation while they teach.
I must state emphatically that a good teacher is irreplaceable. Evidence shows that professionalism, knowledge and skills of a teacher are the most important factors if we are to enjoy quality education as a people. This requires stronger training and continual in-service development and support to enhance performance and learning outcomes. It is widely acknowledged that teachers in Ghana generally remain poorly remunerated, with low social status, and excluded sometimes from education policy matters and decisions that concern and affect them. This narrative, without a compromise, must change for the better. Reverend Chairman, in addition, at the center of poor student performance is the pervasiveness of inadequate teacher motivation, low remuneration, and poor conditions of service hinder our teachers from delivering quality service that we require. This remains that the only way we can attract more teachers and solve the problem of manpower shortage and inadequacy in the education sector. I strongly call on the government to consider a policy direction in the I strongly call on the government to consider a policy direction that would not only provide accommodation units for dwelling of teachers whilst in service, but also to provide affordable housing units for teachers after their service to enable them to live in their own housing units upon retirement as part of improvements in educational incentives countrywide.
The Asen South District continues to make giant strides in education delivery in the country. 6 public basic schools have consistently been scoring 100% in the last 6 years, with one BEC student picking one of the presidential awards this year. District Director of Education for Asen South, Salinelli Coleman, has been recounting the number of trained and untrained teachers in the Asen South District. She says steps are being taken to ensure that the untrained ones receive some training to ensure quality education delivery.
Our public school teachers stand at 1,223. Out of those, 70% are trained and 30% untrained. Private schools teachers, we currently have 459 of them. Out of those, only 5% is trained. 95% are untrained.
The teachers that were selected smiled for the awards and promised to work harder in the impartation of knowledge to the students. Richard Kwejonyakon, Joy News, Cape Coast.
The plight of teachers and students at Anthony, a cocoa-growing community in the Trifo-Himan Lower Dentra districts of the Central Region, has ended. And this is thanks to an initiative by the Christian Rural Aid Network. The organization has constructed and furnished a 6-unit classroom block for these teachers and students who hitherto were teaching and learning under deplorable conditions that did not encourage teachers and pupils to attend school regularly. Richard Kwejonyakon reports that this gesture has boosted the confidence of both teachers and school pupils in the area.
Many schools in rural communities in Ghana are conducted under deplorable conditions. Such conditions often put teachers and school children, especially those in cocoa-growing areas, off. They either don't attend the schools, or when they do, they don't attend the schools regularly.
In the year 2013, the school was absorbed into the public sector under the AME Zion Educational Unit. A close look at the school will tell you the difficulties both teachers and pupils are facing in terms of teaching and learning due to the inadequate furniture and non-availability of classrooms. The school has been practicing the multi-grade system of schooling for the past years now. This poses a great threat to the academic standard of the pupils and also make it very difficult in order to avoid 0%. Teachers and pupils have to put in more effort not to score 0 in the BC. Few months ago, an NGO named Christian Rural Aid Network, CRAN, visited the school, and upon seeing the unbearable situation both pupils and teachers go through each day before achieving their aim, they took it upon themselves to help bring the situation under control.
The Anthony School in the Himan Lower Dentra district is one of such schools. The head teacher of the school has been explaining the conditions under which the school found itself before the Christian Rural Aid Network intervened to give them the new 6-unit classroom block. Offices with tables and chairs to enable the school pupils feel comfortable in the teaching and learning process. The predominantly cocoa-growing community is more than excited by the gesture from the NGO. Doris Agbesinyali is the head of administration at the Christian Rural Aid Network. She explains her outfit's motivation in supporting rural education.
Since 1993, CRAN has been working to promote education and community partnership. These tools form the core of our efforts to promote education. Is funded by Bingo Foundation, Lower Saxony, Germany, and CRAN Friedrichskreis, Germany. That's a CRAN's partner in Germany. The school block here in Anthony epitomizes what we stand for: the self-improvement, community collaboration, and development of the whole person. We are convinced that children who come here to learn will benefit immensely as a result of the time spent in this good environment.
For the community members, it was sheer joy and appreciation as they vowed to protect and maintain the building for the education of their children. Richard Kwejunyako, Joy News, Cape Coast.
Okay, now we will enter the class.
28 assembly members in the Afipa traditional areas in the Ketu North district of the Volta region are threatening to withdraw their services from assembly or the assembly and its proceedings over what they describe as the neglect of government on their bid for a new district. The assembly members could not understand why a petition for the carving of a new district out of the current Ketu North district to the president and other relevant organizations was not given due attention by the Commission of Inquiry set up to work on the creation, elevation and alignment of some metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies. Addressing a presser at Tajavu, the assembly members led by the Ketu North Assembly presiding member Wisdom Nyamwama therefore implored government to consider the proposal of the traditional authorities or face their wrath.
We have about 28 current assembly members of the two traditional areas. We also have the past assembly members, both appointed and elected. We also have other stakeholders, the chiefs are here. And this voice is coming from all of us here, and this represents the entirety of the two traditional areas, that is the people and the Volta traditional area. Yeah. We humbly wish to establish the fact that not until our grievances are addressed, we shall have no other choice than to consider withdrawing our services from the purported Ketu North municipality as assembly members, as the chiefs and the citizens, due to the pressure mounted on us from our electorates. We are therefore appealing to the President of the Republic of Ghana, who doubled as the development chief of the area, Togbi Dunanyo Jigbodifiaga the first, because His Excellency was installed as the development chief last year. And we believe that he being part of the chiefs here, he will work with our chiefs so that we find an amicable solution to the agitation of the electorates. We are further appealing to him to relook at our earlier proposal and consider creation of a new district to be carved out of the Ketu North to be called Ketu West District, in order to bring governance and development closer to the doorstep of the citizenry.
The Ministry of Health has confirmed the outbreak that has so far claimed 4 lives at Kumasi Academy is as a result of an acute respiratory infection. It says out of 19 samples tested at the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research, 12 of them tested positive for the influenza type A, which is an H1N1 strain. Health Minister Kwejunyako Menu has been addressing a news conference here in Accra.
Following the review of the case definition, appropriate samples, that's throat swabs, were taken and immediately sent to Noguchi Memorial Institute for Memorial Research and Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research, again for further laboratory investigations. Of the 19 samples sent to Noguchi, 12 tested positive for influenza type A. About 2 hours ago, report on further tests was received confirming influenza type A H1N1 29 pandemic strain. We are awaiting the results of samples sent to KCCR, and we're not expecting that will be very different from what we have found from all the other research centers.
The health minister said it was necessary to keep the students on campus and vaccinate them to to contain the current outbreak.
Based on these laboratory findings, on the respiratory samples from Noguchi, we wish to indicate the following. An outbreak of an acute respiratory infection with severe presentations and some resulting in death. Fortunately, the outbreak is so far confined to a small area in Kumasi Academy. It hasn't spread to even the very nearest town where the school is located. Challenges: panic and parents' demands, some media misinformation, politicization of the events, spiritualization of the outbreak, and inadequate PPEs. In conclusion, an outbreak of acute respiratory illness has been confirmed in Kumasi Academy Senior High School. The outbreak began on 30th November 2017. As at today, a total of 44 cases, including 4 deaths, have been reported, resulting in an attack rate of 14 per 1,000 population. The Ministries of Health and Education and the Ghana Health Service, as well as the Ghana Education Service, do recommend that students should remain on campus to enable final conclusions on response actions. We are strengthening surveillance on the condition. We are also in collaboration with the World Health Organization, taking immediate steps to access vaccines as part of our response measures. Steps should be taken to enhance school health at Kumasi Academy and nationwide. We are procuring antiviral agents, Tamiflu, for case management. We're also strengthening case management, including strict adherence to infection prevention and control measures. We also want to complete all outstanding laboratory investigations and the autopsies remaining to be done. We have intensified our public education, and we continue to so do. We're also sensitizing on outbreak response at the next PTA meeting at Kumasi Academy. We will need to proposition resources and logistics, including PPEs. Now, after we started doing that, I will intensify our efforts in that respect.
And we'll bring you a lot more updates on this, but that's it for the wrap-up of the latest news updates we have.